Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing an itty bitty knit kit that I got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. Alright you guys, so today we're going to be doing another knit kit from Five Below. I do have a long list of knit kits, so it's very exciting. You're going to see all the cute things that Five Below has to offer, but it is pretty long, so please be patient. I am at least pumping out one a week, and today we're going to be doing Lemon Etta. This was a viewer request. It looks a little complicated. Anytime you got some, what is this? I forget what these are called. Pipe cleaners. It's always concerning to me, but we're just gonna move on ahead and see what we can do. So here's what's in this box. You get some stuffing, you get a couple of spools of yarn, we have a plastic needle, some felt stickers, and then we have our pipe cleaners for this project, and then of course we get our knitting needles. Alright, so this is actually made by Bright Stripes. If you go onto their website, they have an array of kits that you can get for yourself. They're not necessarily these kits because they have their own kits. I have a feeling that this might be just exclusive to Five Below. So, if you need to speed up or slow down this video, there is a gear button at the corner of the screen. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you do not need to hear me talking, you could always lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so I emptied out the contents from this kit. We've got our 2 spools of yarn and we have our instructional booklet. This video is a supplement to the instructions. If you want to make Lemon Etta or any of these kits that I post on my video, I highly recommend that you go and get that kit for yourself, because I'm only going to be going over new instructions for stitches at least 3 times, step by step, and then I'm going to go about my own normal pace. And then I do go over the instructions, but only to explain how to put them together. So just be mindful of that. And then in this pouch here, we have our stuffing. Nice, soft, and fluffy. You could always buy your own stuffing so that you can recreate these kits over and over again as gifts. I've done that. I am actually doing that. There's no shame in that game. Handmade anything is always more magical and more work and effort than just going out and buying something. I have my knitting needles here, and then of course we have all the little accessories. Okay, you always want to save everything that you get in these kits, because you never know if you're going to remake something or if you're going to use something down the road. It's always cool when you have like, oh yeah, I remember I have an extra of this, I'll get it out from this kit. So stuff like that. Alright, so we have cute little, this is going to be a big guy because they've got some big eyes in here. Alright, little lemon slice. Comment below, what's your favorite lemon anything? I mean, I don't know. I love lemon. Lemon is painful and refreshing at the same time, depending. But I love sour anything. Alright. Okay, so good thing about these instructions is that it's very illustrative and thorough. I do not read instructions. I just go by what I know, which is kind of terrible because sometimes that gets me into a mess in these videos, but what can you do? The other thing about this is that it comes with its own ruler, so you might want to take advantage of this, because I hate having to whip out any other tools. So it really has everything you need to make Lemon Etta. Okay, so let's do the first rectangle. We're going to need our white yarn, and it's a little small one, so it's gonna be messy. I don't prefer when they just give you something like this, because it can easily get tangled. Yeah, let me just figure out how to get this apart first off. Okay. So, from here, let me show you how to start this off. We gotta get the tail and do the slip knot. Oops, camera. So, take your ruler from that booklet and we're gonna measure out 28 inches. So, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 28. Alright, so we have 28 inches of tail here, all of this. And I'm just going to switch hands here so I can hold this right. You want the tail end to kind of come down the left side. You want the feeder yarn, which is this, to be on the right. So from here, you can take your middle and ring finger and we're going to hold the yarn like this. Pinch very tightly on this end, keep this a little loose on this end. But I'm going to take my 2 fingers and we're going to come up and we're going to go over and twist this yarn like this. And then we're going to take the index and middle and grab the yarn and pull it through the loop. So we have this really large loop now that we have to tighten. So what you want to do is push the loop toward your thumb, and as you're doing this, you're going to end up tightening that knot, and you want to keep pushing until the knot is tight and as close to your thumb as it will get. So something like this, and you can pull your thumb and index out to make that knot not too tight, but just tight enough. Then now we have this huge loop. So what you want to do is the feeder yarn, we're going to pull the feeder yarn a little bit. You can hold on to the knot, but just pull that so that loop gets a little smaller like this. You can kind of let go of everything now and hold that loop. We're going to stick our needles into the loop, both of them. And then we're going to continue to pull on this feeder yarn just to make it a little bit tighter around the needles. Now, what you want to do is, I'm going to grab some yarn with my finger. Okay, you can do it. There's many ways of feeding yarn to your project. I like wrapping it around my finger a million times. You don't have to wrap it at all, and you can do what they do in the movies and just, you know, something like that. But I'm gonna hold my yarn around my finger as many times as I can. Alright, now we are going to cast on some loops onto the left needle, and these are going to be knit stitches, which is the basic knit stitch for knitting, of course. And what you want to do is make an X with your needles. You want to make the right needle behind the left needle. So you see how I'm taking the 2 needles and I'm crossing it. Want to make sure that my left needle is on top, my right needle's at the bottom. Now you can use your ring and pinky to hold the tail yarn out of your way. But what you want to do now is we're going to cast on loops. And how to do that, you for knit stitches, you always take your yarn and go back to front. Okay, so it's always going to be back to front. So we're going to do that, but first just make sure that your needles are always touching. So it's going to be a small spot right there, but you want to make sure it's always touching. So apply some pressure on there. And you always want a good grip anyway. So now we're going to take our yarn and we're going to go back to front and down. And when you go down, you know that you are touching your needles because it's going to make a little snap, whether it's a noise or you feel it. So it's going to be like this. You force that yarn down, so now it's in that little pocket. So from here, what we're going to do is slide the left needle down the right needle. So take the left needle, slide it down, left needle down the right needle, over the point, and if you can see, the point is pushing your feeder yarn through that loop, creating a new loop. So now you have a loop on your left and a loop on your right. And what you want to do is slip your right loop over your left. So take your left needle, stick your needle into that loop, lift it up and off the right. So now you have 2 loops on your needle. Let's do another one. Stick your right needle through the latest loop that you made, just like this. Make sure that your X, your right needle's in the bottom, your left needle's on top. We're going to go from back to forward and down. You're going to feel a snap. Okay, then we're going to slide the left needle over the right needle, and it's going to pull your feeder yarn through that loop. And then you're going to have a new loop. You're going to take your left needle, put it through that loop, lift it up, and off the right needle. Now, when your needles are always touching, you shouldn't lose any loops. So that might help you. Alright, so let's do this again one more time with you guys. Stick your needle into the latest loop that you made. Make an X. Have your right needle on the bottom, left needle on the front. Then you want to go back to front with your feeder yarn and down. You'll feel a snap. Okay. Then we're going to slide the left needle over the right, over the point. Through that loop, it's going to create a new loop. Pull it apart. We're going to take our left needle and put it through the right loop, up and off the right needle. So now you have 4. So what I'm going to do now is just continue the rest of the stitches on this needle. You can go ahead and pause the video, slow down the video, however you'd like, but I'm going to move forward with this. Okay. Alright, so once we're here, it says that we have to knit one more row of the white, and then we're going to change to the yellow. So, to do that, you should have this for now. Got a nice string here, and this will happen over time with practice. Right now, yours are probably going to be very uneven, and that's okay. If it's even, kudos to you, but let's move on. So, to do the next row, you're going to stick your needle into this first loop. All right, we're going to make sure we do our X right at the bottom, left on top. We're going to go back to forward and down, feel that snap. Then we're going to slide the left needle over the right needle, over the point. It's going to force the feeder yarn through that loop. All right. And then instead of putting it onto the left needle, we're going to slip that loop off the left needle. So you can push up your loops and just slip off this one off your left needle. Okay, so we just basically made a new loop onto this right needle, and then we subtracted a loop from the left needle. So let's do that again. Stick your needle into the latest loop here. Then we're going to go back to forward and down. Right, then we're going to slide the left needle over the right, forcing the feeder yarn through that loop, creating a new loop on the right needle, and we're just going to slip this left one off the left needle. There we go. So to trade for trade, whatever many number of stitches you started on the left side, you should have the same number on the right side for this project. One more time with you guys. Stick your needle into the next loop, make your X. We're going to go back to forward and down and slide the left needle over the right needle, pulling the feeder yarn to a new loop. And then we're going to remove the left loop off the left needle. So now you should have 3 loops onto your right needle. You can pause or slow this down. I'm going to continue doing the rest of the stitches. And the point is to remove all these stitches and make new ones of the same number onto the right needle. Okay, so now for this project, what we're going to do here, I removed all the loops on the left needle, and they're now all on my right. You can situate this so that it's nice, like this. Okay, again, yours might be a little inconsistent, but that's okay. So I'm going to flip the needle over, because this is now going to become my left needle, and my left needle is going to become my right needle. But we have to switch to yellow. So what we're going to do, and it says to do, is we're just going to tie this off. So we're going to create a simple knot. All right, I'm not good with knots or sewing, so bear with me. I'm just going to tie this on to our white. Double knot it. Or triple knot, just to make sure that it doesn't come out. Okay, and then I'm going to cut off the white. We're not going to need that. The white again for this rectangle. Oh, that was bad. Okay, we're going to set this aside. We have our yellow now. Make sure you don't confuse this with the tail. This gets left on the left side. I'm going to gather up some of this yellow, and we're going to continue doing a new row of yellow. It says to do a certain number of rows, but you have to make sure that it at least adds up to 3 1/4 inches. So we're going to do that. Now, stick your needle into the first loop here, and we're going to do the same thing. If you'd like, actually, so that you can hide this, let's twist it around the feeder yarn. And we're going to try crocheting with these 3 strands all together. And then you can just trim off the ends if they poke out of your project. But you can hold it down like this. I just twisted it, as you saw. We're going to X our needles. I'm going to yarn over with all 3 strands. Snap it down. And then we're going to do the left over the right, making a new loop. And we're going to remove this one off the left needle. And we're going to continue on to the next loop. Do the same. You want to maintain this pinch on the end here and try to hold it there as long as you can until you cannot anymore. And that's going to enable you to help tuck these pieces into your project. So these 2 strands are going to be a mix of white and yellow, but at least you tucked in the edge, and you can just trim off the pieces that still stick out. So you just go about the same way of creating new stitches and removing the old ones off the left side so that you have the equal number of stitches you started with, all on the right needle. So you keep doing that. Alright, so we pretty much created the lip of the cup. Alright, and then again I'm going to flip the needle over so that it's now on the left side. You can always situate your yarn to where it's all in the same direction. It's not like doing one of these, you know. Alright, I'm going to gather up more yellow yarn, and I'm going to show you this just one more time, and then I'm going to go off in silence and continue the rest. Again, you could always slow down or speed up the video. Putting the needle on the first loop here, making my X, back to front and down, slide the left over the right, pulling the feeder yarn through that loop, and then we're going to move this old loop off the left needle. Alright, so continue doing this. And like I said, once you've mastered the knit stitch, you don't have to look. I've done this watching movies, because you'll feel the loops in your fingers, and you pretty much can, like, it's automatic going back to front with your yarn. Yeah, this is one of my favorite hobbies or crafts to do, because I can make a whole scarf in one movie without even looking, you know? So if you can only imagine. Possibilities are endless. Alright, so here's that twisty spot. It is getting a little crazy, but that's fine. Like I said, you could always trim it off if it doesn't look right. But yeah, so you should have something like this forming. Whenever you start it out, it's going to be so small on the needle, but the more rows you add, it starts stretching out and spreading out. So that's why we're getting bunching here, but that's okay. Alright, so like I said, you do this till it measures out the 3¼ inch long, and then we'll come back in and I'll show you how to cast off. So here we have about the length that it's supposed to be at. And now I'm going to show you how to cast off. So once you have the right length of rectangle, what you want to do is we're going to stick the needle into the first loop here. And then we're going to do our back to forward and down. And then create our new loop, remove the old one. And I'm going to do that one more time. So stick your loop into the next stitch. Go back to forward and down. Okay, slide the left over the right and pull the old loop off the left. All right, so now we have 2 loops on our right needle. What you want to do is take the first loop you created, stick your left needle in that loop, and we're going to lift it up and over the next loop and off the right needle. And then at this point you can remove the left needle out of that loop. So we just removed that stitch over this one. So then we're gonna go back in to the left side, go into the next loop, go back to forward and down, create your new loop on the right needle and slip the old one off the left needle. So you have 2 loops on the right needle again. We're going to go into this loop here, stick your needle in there. We're going to lift it up and over that loop and slide it off the right and then slip it off the left. So now we have that 1 loop again left. So we're going to put our right needle into the next loop on the left needle. Right, we're going to create our new loop on the right, and we're going to remove the old one off the left. Now that we have 2 loops here, we'll call this a leapfrog. Leapfrog your loop over the last one you made and off the left needle like that. All right, let's keep doing this until all the stitches are gone. You'll have 1 loop left over, and I'll show you how to get rid of that. Okay, so now we're in our last loop here. We're going to cast off. What you want to do is we're going to cut about 1 inch or so of this yarn here, right? Then what we're going to do is yarn over this needle. You can hold the end with your index and middle. I'm just going to take this loop and I'm going to leapfrog it over the yarn over, right? And then we're going to pull this all the way out and then tighten up that loop. And then when we sew everything, we're going to tuck that piece so you'll never see it. This right here was when we changed up our colors. This is going to be the prettier side. What you could do is take that piece and tuck it into the other side at least, so that it sticks out on the wrong side, like that. Alright, so we're going to set this aside because we have 2 more rectangles to make, but I guess this isn't going to be a super long lemon, and that's fine with me. But setting this aside, let's take our yellow. This time we're going to need a 12-inch tail, so take your ruler and make sure you got those 12 inches. And then pinch where the 12 inches. I'm just gonna have to switch where I'm pinching because you want the tail on the left and off the desk, out of your way. Then we're going to do a slip knot. So with your middle and index, hold apart the yarn. We're going to keep this tight and keep this a bit loose. Take your 2 fingers, come up from underneath. We're going to twist over to make this loop, and then with your index and middle finger, you're going to grab onto that yarn and pull a loop through, creating this very loose knot. And then what you want to do is tighten this knot close to your thumb, your left thumb, as possible, so you can start pulling one end to make that knot tighter. And once you get to that point, you can also pull on your thumb and index on your left hand to tighten up that knot just a little bit more, not too tight. I'm going to grab my knot, keep your tail down here, take your feeder yarn, and we're just going to pull the feeder yarn until we get a small loop on this side. Be very controlled, you don't want to accidentally undo it. So here we have our little loop. Slip your 2 needles on here, and then I'm going to show you another way to cast on your your stitches. And I don't prefer this way, and I realize it's maybe a way that could help you in case the first way I showed you is really troubling. So actually remove one of these needles. You just need one for now. Alright, you can tighten up your loop again. I'm going to show you how to cast on with just your fingers. And you'll see why I don't like this way, but at least you'll see it. So we need to cast on the number of stitches that we need for this next square. What I'm going to do is hold this out. I'm going to create this little loop. So the way that we did our slip knot, take your 2 fingers, go over, create a loop, and just throw it up on the needle, and then tighten the feeder yarn. So you end up getting this new loop. Right, again, underhand this yarn here, we're gonna twist our fingers over to create a loop, and I'm just gonna throw it up onto the needle and pull. So now we have 3. One more time with you guys. Underhand the yarn, twist your fingers over to create this loop, slip it onto the needle, and then pull the feeder yarn, and now we have 4. So keep doing this until you get the number of stitches that you need. Okay, so it should look something like this. I'm gonna grab my yarn here, And we're going to do the next row. And I'm going to show you why I don't really like to do it this way. So we have this. We're going to do like we normally do, stick your needle into the first stitch, make your X. We're going to go back and around and down, and we're going to slip off the right loop and then off the left loop, and then look at the gap that you get in between. I don't know why that happens, but this is what happens when you do with your fingers instead of the needle. And it just seems awkward to me, so that's why I don't like doing it. But as we continue to do our row, it just gets bigger and bigger. And it is harder to slip that needle into the next loop. Bigger. Eventually it evens out over time, so I'm not too concerned with that. But if something like that would bother you, I suggest using 2 needles, the 2 needle method instead of just your fingers. And that's the way that I like to do it. Okay. So we got that done. You got a little gap here. Like I said, it will even out over time. Just right now it looks a little odd shaped. But I'm going to continue this until I get the right length that I need, and then we're going to move on to the last rectangle in white, and then we'll assemble. Alright, what I did there was I kind of measured where it was, and it looked like it was a little too big. So I took off that last row because now I'm going to cast off. So like I showed you before, we're going to knit 2. So 1, 2. Then we're going to leapfrog the first loop over the second and off the right needle and then off the left needle. Then we're going to knit again. And then we're going to leapfrog this loop off the right and then off the left. And then we're going to knit another one. Then we're going to leapfrog this loop off the right and then off the left. So continue this until you get that last loop onto your right needle, and then I'll show you again how to cast off or fasten off, sorry. So this is casting off needle stitches. And then this last step here is going to be a fasten off. So I'm going to cut again, a little over an inch. Alright, then we're going to do a yarn over. And then I'm going to pull this loop over, yarn over, and then I'm going to pull it all the way out, tighten up our loop, and then we'll figure out a way to sew this in. But we've got our second square. So now all we got to do is do one more square, and we're going to do this with the white. Alright, so this time it's going to be the same as before. We need 12 inches with the white. So here's 1, 2, and 12. Alright, maintain your pinch. You want the tail to be off the table on the left side. Then we're going to do our slip knot. So middle finger and ring finger, hold a bit the yarn, keep this nice and tight. You can leave this a little loose. We're going to take 2 fingers here and go up and over to create a loop. Then we're going to go and grab the yarn with our index and middle and pull that through the loop we made, so we have this huge knot. Then you're going to want to push that knot closed toward your left thumb, and keep doing that till you cannot push it down anymore towards the left. And just to make that knot a little snug, you can pull with your left hand just to give that an extra pull, not too tight. Grab the knot, you can let go of this tail end. We're going to pick up the feeder and we're going to pull until this loop gets a little smaller. Alright, I'm going to slip the needles in here. I'm going to do it with the needles because I don't like the other way with the fingers. So cross your needles in an X. Let me just remove this off here. Alright. Okay. Cross the needles. Go back and around and down. Slip the left over the right. And then we're going to put that loop onto the left needle. Again, stick your needle through that loop, back to forward and down, slip the left over the right, then put your loop onto your left needle. Alright, one more time, slip your needle onto this, I said noodle, slip your needle onto the next loop here, go back to forward and down, slip the left needle over the right, and then slip this loop onto the left needle. All right, keep doing this until you've reached the number of stitches. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to start our next row. All right, do this until you make the length that the instructions ask. Okay. I'm going to continue the rest in silence. Alright. Got a little bit of white left. I'm going to try to cast off with no problems. So, do your 2 knit stitches, and then your leapfrog. And then we're going to keep knitting and leapfrogging. Until we get to that last stitch. Okay, and this is already cut, so yarn over and pull this over that, and we're going to pull this all the way out, tighten up the loop, and then we'll deal with it when we have to sew everything together. Alright, so now we can put these aside. We have our 3 rectangles, and it says that we're going to start sewing these rectangles together, so I'm going to grab my plastic needle. Where's the plastic needle? Oh, okay, here it is. Right, and we're going to be sewing this along the side. Crazy because they should have told you to leave a long piece here. I'm just gonna cut another yellow. There's a lot of yellow left, so I'm gonna assume that you have the same amount of yellow, but they should say when you cast off, leave a tail for that side, because you don't want to use the white. You'll see it through the yellow. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Okay. So I'm going to thread up my needle here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not a sewer. Ugh. Okay. Now that we thread this through, I want to put the pretty side on the inside, and you can tell because you have this band of yellow. Now I'm going to start here at the edge between the white and the yellow, and then I'm just going to tie this around. double knot. Alright, and all these end pieces, I'm going to try to sew in my stitches. But basically, I'm going to try to go row for row. If you can see it, it's a little bit hard, but I'm going to try to make it work. Meanwhile, I want to tuck these end pieces into each other. Alright, so I have my yellow sewn in. I'm going to just remove the needle. I'm going to slip on the white that was here. And I'm going to just do the rim part of this. Okay. Alright, so the next step is place the yellow square on the bottom of the tube and stitch it into, stitch onto the tube with the yellow yarn. Make sure you follow a round shape for the tube. Alright, so I'm just going to use this because it's already here. I know we have a tail end for this square, but we can always use it if we run out. But I'm gonna pick again. The right side is going to be on the inside here. And I'm not too fond of this because it's like, how do you know? Like, if it's a real circle. So you could draw a circle to try to figure that out, but I'm just gonna try to do my best here. I feel so awkward right now. Well, I guess one way to go about it . You know what I'm gonna do? Let's see. I have this acrylic powder. I'm just gonna slip this over so I can maintain a circle, right? Then I'm going to take my square and I'm just gonna sew it together. Alright, that might actually work. Slip something cylindrical into your little lemon thing. And I'm just going to sew all the way around. Okay, and then once you reach the other side, I'm going to figure out a way to tie my knot. And we can slip this off here. All right. Don't worry about the corners, they will be hidden in the next step. So now we have to flip this inside out. So take this and we're going to flip this inside out. Alright. You can tuck in all these ends here to your lemon cup. I'm gonna leave the white out. I'm gonna guess we have to sew the top on. Alright. Okay. So now we have to put the stuffing into it. So let's try to do a little bit at a time. Get that all the way down in there. Then you can stuff the remaining. Okay. Then it says place the white knitted square inside the cup where the white stripe is. Tuck in the corners and stitch the white piece around the inside of the cup. The top of the cup will have a little white rim. So we're sewing into where the yellow meets the white. It looks like I'll just tuck see these tails in there, and I want to pick the nice side, so you can just gauge which side looks prettier. But we're gonna tuck this in. Try to tuck in that stuffing too. You don't want to kind of accidentally sew into it because it'll come out of your project and it'll look a little sloppy. But so we tucked in that. I'm going to grab that white tail from the beginning there, thread up my yarn, and then I'm going to sew through the edges of that where the white meets the yellow, and I'm going to link it up with that inside square, and just keep doing this till you go all the way around. Alright, and I just got an alarm. I have to feed my cat. It is late, you guys, so let me be right back. I just have to feed my cat. Hold on a sec. Okay, little monster has been fed. Continue going all the way around. I actually don't know where I started. Oh man. I guess here. So like the booklet said, doing it this way, you're going to be creating a little lip for the lid. So continue to go right where the yellow meets the white, and then integrate the lid as you stitch around. This is definitely looking better than the Boba Buddy I did. So I'm really happy about that. But I've got a lot of kits that I'm going to run through, so I hope you guys are just patient with me to get through all of them. It'll all be done. And again, I only happen to have these because I ended up going to a Five Below and seeing them. So if you don't want to wait for instruction for me to do them, I usually comment if I have them or not. So if you don't want to wait for me to find it, then you can always message me clear instructions that I can work off of. Yeah, because I usually just buy these online, and if they're not online, then I just don't get them. So the last 2 batches I got were from the Five Below website, actually. So if you want to pick any of these up, you can check out their website. I think they run through these kits fairly quickly, because it wasn't too long ago when I started this with the watermelony. And then not too long after, they came out with a new batch of itty bitty kits, and the snack knit kits were kind of hard to find online. So you definitely have to jump on it quickly. We are almost all the way around, so excited about that. And of course, once we made it all the way around, I'm going to find a moment to sew this all together. Okay, so take this, stick my needle through. I'm going to go around this loop a couple of times and then tighten this up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a spot next to where this excess piece is sticking out. I'm going to push my needle through all the way to the other side here. So now I'm at the bottom. I want to pull this so that string disappears. And then I'm going to push this down a little bit so I can cut it. And then when I start puffing this out, it'll disappear into the project. So then now you can take this time to make that stuffing situated in your Lemon Etta. You can push the lid down straight so you can get that nice lip around the edge. But so far, so good. A little excited. It's looking pretty cute. Alright. So now we have to stick on the eyes and the mouth stickers. So you grab your little felt piece here, and we're going to peel off the eyes. It's attached to the lashes and the blush. And just be careful with peeling it off. You don't want to accidentally rip it. This came out messy. You can always come back in with your scissors and clean it up. Okay. And we're going to pick a nice spot. I'm just going to pick the, even though there's this little piece I don't like, it's okay. I'm going to stick on her eye. That. Then we're going to take the other one, and you want to try to obviously make it symmetrical. Okay, then we're going to clean this up. Then you want to position this to where it's, that's the hard part, symmetrical. Okay, and you can hold this down for a few seconds just to make sure that it gets a nice stick. We're going to do her mouth next. Okay. Stick this right in the middle. Now it says you can always take embroidery floss and sew around the edges for a nice secure hold. It's up to you. I'm not going to do that. Then we're going to take the pipe cleaners and we're going to put them together. It's kind of bent to fit into the little packaging. So you can unbend these pipe cleaners. And then we're going to twist them together. And, you know, again, I don't like these for little children because they can poke their eyes or whatever. So just be careful with that. But I'm going to twist it together. Try to keep it even if you can. It's alright if you can't. Alright, so then once we finish twisting this, we're going to insert this into the top of the cup. You know, maybe pick a side that you really like. It doesn't really matter, so to me. Alright, and then we're going to push this into the stuffing to get the right height. Now, normally you would stick it right in the center. Sometimes they have it off to the side. I'm going to put it in the center. but I am going to angle it like they do in the... I'm pointing like you can see the book. Can't. Alright. So you can try like twisting this in there. I don't even know, is that the right way to twist? I guess it doesn't angle. Whatevs. You can kink it. We can kink it. There you go. Then you can also make it a bendy straw. What? Oh my gosh, stop it. Alright. And then it says to stitch the lemon piece into place. This is one-sided printed, but it has these little perforated holes. So I'm gonna get some white, or maybe some yellow. Screw it. I'm gonna cut a piece of yellow. Guess if I knew this construction in advance, if I read it in advance, I wouldn't have tucked one of those yellows into the cup. But this is an odd way to stick a lemon piece, I guess. Alright, so let me cut my yellow. We have plenty of yellow. I'm gonna place this little hat on here so you can, I guess, start here. Just grab a little bit of that lid, poke it through. Alright, I'm gonna pull that just like that, and we're gonna pull some lid again and come out through the other side. I'm going to tie these pieces together to secure it. Okay. So take this, just double, triple knot, make sure it's nice and tight. Then we're going to continue sewing on this little lemon slice. So go into the next little part of your top, come out through this side, and we're going to go back down here, grab a little bit of the top, and then come out through the other side. And I'm going to try to tuck in this excess piece along the edge here. And I'm going to go into the top again. And then go into the hole. Then go back into the top. Out through the other side, and then we have to go down this way. So what I'm going to do here, I mean, we're already here. Okay, so under the lip, we're going to grab some of this side of the cup and then go into the lemon. We'll go back in to the side here, through the other side. I'm going to grab some of this cup. Then we're going to go into the lemon. Oh no, it's around my straw. And then grab the side of that cup, do the other side. And then we have one more hole to get into. So grab again, side of the cup, into this hole, through the lemon. And then we're going to grab a piece of that cup again, and through the other side. And what I'm going to try to do here, this is a little bit left, but I'm going to try to tie a very tiny knot with this little bit I have left of this excess piece. If you don't have one, that's okay. But what I'm going to do now is find a moment in this cup to tie my knot. Got my loop here. Gonna go around twice, and then I'm gonna pull, make it tight. Then I'm going to stick my needle somewhere close to that excess piece. We're just going to stick it out through the other side. Alright, then I'm going to push down on this and cut off that piece. And then when I squish this back in shape, it'll disappear. But oh my gosh, here is our little Lemon Etta. Comment below, let me know how it went. This is so cute, you guys. I'm glad this turned out alright. I'm just putting all of the contents back into this box, including the yarn. Who knows, I might end up making another one someday. And it really doesn't have to be the same color even, and you can get your own felt and do your own thing. But yeah, so this is great. Here's what it looks like side by side. Let me know what you think. Kind of, that was really long, but you know, whatever. At any rate, you guys, here's my Lemon Etta. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. Alright, so you saw my unboxings. This is from a previous one I did not post on the channel, I don't think. But I have one more request, the croissant. And then I'll be able to do all the kits that I posted in the last, on this last batch of itty bitty knit kits that I got. So rest assured, like I said, I am going through all my kits. I just have to finish up the last two that I had left, which is Lemon Etta and then croissant, and then I'll do all the other ones. At any rate, thank you so much for watching, you guys. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.